Hi, this is Odeean. Today I'm having a look at the Transformers Prime Beast Hunters Voyager class Shockwave. As I said in other reviews, I'm kind of late coming to the game to Beast Hunters. I really only watched the show recently and I liked it so much I went out and just got all the on-screen characters. So far Shockwave I think is really the cream of the crop. It's the best figure from the bunch and I like it the way it looks so much that I even am weighing up whether I want to include Shockwave in my lineup of other series just as my Shockwave because he looks really nice. He is Beast Hunters, but he's got a definite classic influence, just a Shockwave look, but some of the lines that split him up, like on the head there, that extra detailing and the sort of techno detailing behind the glass here, it throws into the mix a little bit of the movie aesthetic. If I just grab movie Shockwave here to give you a comparison, I mean, I'm not saying that these two look like each other at all because they're really very different, and although I like this movie Shockwave a little bit, Beast Hunters Shockwave just does it so much better. I mean, they've taken some of the ridging from here and applied it to places like around his legs here, detailing up here, and as I said, the techno detailing in the front, and they've just made it a kind of really good synthesis of G1 aesthetic with more modern detailing. So much so that actually one of the only drawbacks to this figure is that when you put him with Megatron, he doesn't really fit. It doesn't look in place. You can see the thigh area here on Shockwave is satisfyingly thick, whereas on Megatron he's really too thin. And I mean, Megatron is by no means one of my favourite moulds. I've never liked it very much at all, especially the Voyager one. But when you put him next to Shockwave, Shockwave just looks so much better that it makes it hard to use Shockwave with this Megatron for a Transformers Prime Beast Hunters shelf. I don't have the Cyberverse Commanders, and I'm thinking maybe I should pick them up to see if they fit together better these days, because I've been buying more little figures lately, but at the moment these are the only Beast Hunters versions that I've got. I feel that Shockwave goes pretty well with the Voyager class Starscream from Transformers Prime. Now I know a lot of people prefer the deluxe Starscream to go with their Prime figures, probably because he scales better with most of the other figures. But to me, these guys, they don't fit well together. I think Decepticons are meant to be big, so I'm happy with this guy. And the difference in bulk seems quite fitting. Starscream's slender, Shockwave is thick, so these guys are spot on. And the real problem is Megatron, not Starscream, so these are good for me. If you're going to buy Shockwave, I think that it's also a really good idea to get Ultra Magnus, like the screen accurate Ultra Magnus. That's a remold, of the Prime mold. These guys are sort of counterparts in the show. They come at approximately the same time and they're kind of facing off a little bit, and I think these are nicely done together. They match quite well. So Ultra Magnus is big, being the same as Prime, but Shockwave is bulkier and a little bit taller because he's a Decepticon, and Decepticons are just kind of tougher than Autobots in general, I think. But they look really nice together, and as a pairing, I feel these two are better than any other two in the whole series. For Poseability, Shockwave is pretty good, but he has some really lacking spots, namely the ankles here. So you can see that this would be an awesome pose if only you could tilt his ankle to bend the foot down. I'm not a ankle tilt Nazi walking around criticizing toys for their lack of tilts, but in this figure where he is so capable, it is one thing that I really do miss. Part of the reason there is no ankle tilt is that the transformation gimmick slides here, and it would have been not very easy to put an ankle tilt in with that slide. Just one other point about the ankles is that it can slide, it's not going to do it now, it actually can slide right off. So I'm not going to force the issue, but you'll find that in transformation, if you're too forceful, sometimes the foot will just slide right off. It's on a kind of track, and there is no end stop to stop it going off. It's just friction. Now, as you saw then, it was a little bit hard. Before this video, I popped the foot right off, and I thought, oh no, what's going on? But it's no big deal. It does pop back on again. Apart from that, we've got a pretty decent articulation. So the wrist here is on a ball, nice swing in like that, and it can twist around. does feel a little bit tight, so it worries me twisting it that I might break the peg. Elbows swivel backwards and forwards at the shoulder. One really cool thing is if you watch the shoulder here as it swings out, the armor goes up like this. That's actually on a spring-loaded panel, so I haven't seen anything like that in the whole rest of the line, and it's really an uptick in the quality that we get that. I like that. That's a pretty cool feature. The head rotates. It's got no up and down, just rotating around. Ratcheted knees. Reasonably decent motion here. The hip does have a ratchet, but you can see that the increments are a little bit too far apart, so it does limit the usefulness of the hip a little bit into some kind of awkward positions. Shockwave's signature cannon arm is very nicely done. It looks very powerful, and the kind of dimensions at the end do harken back to his wideness of his barrel. So I like that. It's got the kind of silver, what's that, octagon at the end. Another very Shockwave thing with a red dot in the middle. It's got these fins on it, which I like. Sort of kind of like the Energon Shockwave had some fins on him, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but they're a soft plastic so they don't break. Originally I was posing them like that in robot mode, but I think they are meant to go back like this. The cool feature on this weapon is that when you spin it, you can see the innards of the weapon, the mechanism, like that. That's pretty cool. It's hard to take a photo. I wanted to take a photo of that, but I just couldn't get it to work because as soon as you stop pushing, it clicks back in. So it's hard to quickly enough do a photo to get a good picture, because the physical act of me shaking like that makes it go a bit blurry. There's kind of a locking point here, so it most of the time comes to rest in the correct orientation. It's like a little ratchet tooth. But that's really awesome. Just two other quick comparisons I wanted to do before transformation are the, what is this? The War for Cybertron Shockwave, and I mean, this is much more satisfying. I think I like the dark purple better on this guy, but definitely I like the look of Beast Hunter's Shockwave better. Okay, apart from him, if you're so inclined to put him in with classics figures, Hegemon is a pretty good Megatron to go along with him. Let's stand them up straight. They're approximately the same size, with Hegemon being maybe half a head taller than Shockwave, and that is how it should be. So it fits with what I'm saying, that this could be a Classics Universe Shockwave. So let's transform him now. I'm going to put him into a neutral pose, just making sure this seam lines up here, legs are nice and straight. Okay, let's put the arms out a little bit, move the legs like this and rotate them, the whole leg, into this position. From there, we want to do this with the lower part of the leg, so that's going out and then rotating as it points forward. The feet tilt down, and once you've got them tilted down, you need to apply enough force to slide them into this position, so it's going to be more flush with the ground once it's in tank mode. And as I said before, that can pop right off. Just try to make them both even. Next, untab the chest and move it down to the front. Now, it doesn't really plug in anywhere there, so it feels like it should tab in with the two tabs, but they don't meet the tabbing points that you would think they are from these little slots, and I think trying to force them would break them off. Rotate the head 180 degrees like this, and then tilt these arms back enough to give clearance to move these panels forward, so they kind of swing forward a bit into that position. Now I'm going to take this shoulder and what am I doing here? Move the arm up like the, no, this is the underneath one, so start with this side. I'm going to move this up like this and tilt it around, and then I'm not moving that cut above the bicep, just turning at the bicep, and then it's going to tab in right here and kind of lock. Now you can see there's the cut above the bicep. I didn't rotate it at that point. I'm not entirely sure why that rotation at the bicep is there. I think that's just to give more articulation, but it's not part of transformation. Turning it over to the other side, I'm going to move this out of the way, And we're going to do a similar thing. So face that down so the shoulder's in that way. Move it up. Fold the arm up, and then that forearm is also going to tab in underneath on that pole. Push it in nice and firmly, and that kind of locks. Now in the instructions, there's a whole section about unthreading the tank tread and putting it out like this, and it makes you go through it, and then at the end it was for no reason, and it tells you to put it back in. I have no idea what the intention behind that was, but that's all you've got to do. There's no need to pull the tank tread out, and I think it was a gimmick that never made it to the final toy, and maybe the instructions are reflecting that. These little antennas can also go out, and we're pretty close to being done now. If you just get that into a position where it kind of locks, you can see it's locked, and wiggle it around so that it feels nice and flat. I've changed my setup here a bit to put black underneath because the lighting was messing with how the toy's showing up. But here's an H-Tank. So you may love or hate H-Tanks. I always feel that H-Tanks are a bit of a cop-out, but if you've watched my Armada Megatron review, you'll know that I love that toy. So it's not an automatic hate on the transformation alt mode, but it is definitely a kind of demerit as far as I'm concerned, because H-Tanks are, it's the easy solution to what to do with a figure who's got a big gun. The gimmick should still work in this mode, but it does hit a bit. So you can hear it hitting this plastic. I mean, it doesn't really go down any lower than that. So it's a bit unfortunate that it hits. I'm not into the gimmick. I'm not going to be running around playing with this. It's not a big deal. Now we do get some extra armor pieces with this because here's Beast Hunters. I didn't show them in robot mode. I'll show it at the end of the video. But in tank mode, they can tab on, or peg on, I should say, to these little holes at the front. This one goes here. One goes there. And the last one on what was the chest pegs into that chest. It's sometimes hard to peg rubber into a peg hole. And not very convincing and seemingly useless rubber bits of armor. Why Shockwave needs dragon claws on his hands and some kind of spikes, I don't know. I don't really like the way that it looks. Maybe younger kids playing with this could add that to their game and it could be something cool for them, but for me as an adult collector, that really has no benefit and I don't much care for it. Here's that same armor in robot mode. Doesn't look bad, just not very useful as far as I'm concerned. Tabs into these shoulder panels. If you don't want it in the shoulder panels, you can pull it off, and because it's flexible, it'll bend just enough to allow you to peg it into the forearm like this. Or maybe you could have both on one side, so he could have like, this could be his shield arm and the other side is his shooting arm. So maybe like that. That could have some good play value. My final thoughts. This Shockwave is very, very good. The quality feels high. The plastic feels nice. The transformation, although relatively simple, is okay for a Shockwave. The light piping doesn't work very well due to the shape on the back of the head. Ratchets a little bit not so useful with not enough increments. But all in all, I would say this is a definite must-have figure. It's very nice to have, fits well in any collection. Here you can see I've put him next to his creation, his cloned Predacon. So not very much in scale. This is the biggest Predacon, the ultimate one that I reviewed recently. If you had the Voyager Predacon, I'm just calling it Predacon because in the show that's what they call it, but you know, Predaking. The Voyager would be far, far worse, and maybe the best, if you want scale with this guy, is to have the Cyberverse Commander to go with him. In robot mode, he is pretty show accurate, but Dragon mode, this guy's just not big enough compared to Shockwave. I guess the question is he worth getting at what he goes for now? So it's dried up on places like BBTS, unless you want to get a whole case, and I didn't, because I already had the figures that are in the case with him. On eBay, his price floats around. I got a really good deal on this. I'm in Australia and the price I got it shipped was about $35, and I don't think you're likely to get it that price or lower. It'd be pretty hard to get a deal like that, I think. I've never seen this locally, and I don't think I ever will. It seems that we're not getting any more Transformers from any future waves of Beast Hunters, but I would go so far as to say that this guy is probably worth more than that anyway. And if you can find it on eBay for, you know, even up to maybe $45, or if you can get a deal off a friend or someone on the boards, he's probably well worth picking up. Look at that, I've hit the light piping there at that angle. That's pretty cool. There is a better version of this, an exclusive version, which is going for, I think, $80 or so. I don't know that I would want to pay $80. I would have to see what the difference is. Maybe it's better paint apps or better color plastic. I can't imagine that it would be really worth the $80, because this is the plain ordinary version is pretty good to start off with. So if you're willing to spend that $80, it's probably, you're better off just spending it on maybe a $45 or $50 shipped ordinary version off eBay and save the $30. So basically I'm satisfied, fully satisfied. I don't think anyone's going to be disappointed if they get the figure. Probably only if you overpay, you're going to be disappointed. This has been my video review for the Transformers Prime Beast Hunters Voyager class Shockwave. I'm Odeean. Thank you for watching.